Kylie.
I'm Kaya.
Have you ever seen The Lion King?
Well, we have, and the Lion King summary. Simba is a young lion, and he kind of follows in his dad's footsteps, Mufasa, and he really looks up to him. And then an unfortunate thing happens. His uncle Scar is kind of like kills his dad, pretty much. Not directly, but very indirectly, and Simba is very upset over his dad's death, and he runs away. And then after he runs away, he meets Timon and Pumbaa, which is like a monkey and a pig, I think, hog, I guess. And they kind of help him feel his feelings. And then later, his old friend Nala, which is also a lion, kind of tells him and helps him get back to his home and takes over the throne that Scar took. Okay, the helping process is shown throughout the movie. In what ways do you think it kind of presents itself?
I would say that in the beginning, the helping process is shown when Simba runs away and he is in denial and is trying to escape what happened to his father. He meets Timon and Pumbaa during this time, and that helps him avoid his pain temporarily. Later, he finds Nala and he comes to confront his past, and then he kind of has this reflection and realization with Rafiki, which is also a main helper, and Simba reconnects spiritually with his father's legacy, and then during that time is when he begins trying to take action to return to his homeland and take over the throne that his father had. Okay, so Alan Keith Lucas's book, Giving and Taking Help, talks about a bunch of different concepts of how a helper and helpee should be in a helping relationship, and what are some of those concepts that you see in The Lion King?
Yeah, so some of the concepts that I have seen is showing empathy and the difference between empathy and sympathy. Reality is another one. Support, autonomy, environment, boundaries, confidentiality, trust, and learning through experience. So I know I kind of just blurted all those concepts out, but we're gonna go in and describe the concept that Keith Lucas shows throughout the book, and then we're gonna give an example of how it's seen in the movie. So empathy, not sympathy. Empathy is really empowering, really. It gives the helpee a sense of feeling like they can trust, and they actually know what they're the helper is talking about, and they just really trust them. Sympathy is more of pity, and so sympathy is not really wanted in the helping relationship. And an example is Rafiki shows empathy towards Simba. He understands Simba's guilt and pain, but doesn't feel sorry for him. Instead, he helps Simba confront his feelings and learn from them. So that's kind of how empathy is shown in The Lion King.
Yeah, I agree. Keith Lucas says that for a helping process to be successful, empathy, reality, and support all have to work together. And for reality, the helper must help the helpee come to terms with the actual problem of the situation. And in The Lion King, Nala and Rafiki are really key helpers in helping Simba recognize what happened and confront Scar and his past.
Then going into support, just kind of walking alongside someone, not necessarily fixing their problems, because that's a little controlling, but supporting whatever they choose to do as the helper. An example of this in the movie is Timon and Pumbaa support Simba when he's broken, and they offer companionship and stability And then later, when Nala comes back and helps Simba like kind of regain his like throne and stuff, she helps him reclaim his identity that he lost from his father's death.
Yeah, so support is like really important, but it is also important that the helpee has their own like self-determination to make their own choices and not be controlled by the helper. And so in The Lion King, Simba's decision to return to his own homeland is his decision, even though he does have support from his friends Nala and Rafiki.
Yeah, definitely. Having their own autonomy is really important, and I'm going to go into more on the control side and how we should not control our patients or anyone that we're helping. Control is more like manipulation and dominance, and it honestly just destroys the trust between you and the helpee. An example of this in the movie is that Scar represents control through fear and lies, and then Mufasa leads through guidance and respect. So Simba had his reasons for looking up to his dad, and he just really empowered a good father figure, and losing him just was really, really hard for him. And you can just see how Scar controls everything else after like Mufasa's death.
Yeah, so not only is the client affected by other people in the helping process, the environment also has a strong influence on them. Keith Lucas thinks that a person's surroundings affects their attitudes and choices. And in The Lion King, there's like many different environments, and Simba's jungle life gives him some like peace and where he can avoid the pain, but ultimately in the end when he returns back to his homeland, he feels safe and comfortable, and a safe and comfortable environment really helps a person make better choices.
Okay, so another concept that Keith Lucas emphasizes is boundaries. Boundaries are kept in the helping relationship to like be able to offer guidance without taking over or becoming too emotionally involved.
Yeah, so a scene that comes to mind when I think about boundaries is when Rafiki helps Simba face his past. He doesn't try to take over like Simba's life or anything, but he encourages Simba to take certain steps and then ultimately allows him to like make his own choices and decide what he wants to do next.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And a scene that stuck out to me was Mufasa and Simba. Mufasa guides Simba with wisdom, but allows Simba to make mistakes and learn and be able to grow.
Yeah, also confidentiality is really important, and that just builds safety and trust in the helping process.
Yeah, I totally agree. Rafiki keeps Simba's struggles private. So when Rafiki finds Simba, he doesn't like expose him to others. Like he doesn't shame him, but he like stays between like what like is kept that Simba hasn't shared with his friends. Like he kept that between them, and he allowed him to grow, and when he was ready, Simba could tell his friends.
Yeah, or also when Timon and Pumbaa respect Simba's past, they never like ask him for details or anything. They just allow him to be himself, and when he felt open to sharing about what happened, he was willing to do that, but they never pressured him to do anything.
Trust is also really important. Keith Lucas like says it's critical in the helping relationship, and it's kind of like a foundation. Without it, growth and change can't happen.
Yeah, and for Simba, that took him a while to figure out with Rafiki. At first he was really skeptical, but later on when he saw, or like Rafiki showed Simba Mufasa's reflection, he finally found that trust in Rafiki and his help.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Also, there's trust in Nala and Simba's relationship. Nala trusts Simba enough to share share her fear and hope for the Pride's Land's future, since Scar had taken over and completely wrecked everything. But Simba trusts her honestly and supports her and is motivated to return to regain his crown and fix what had been broken.
Yeah, and since trust builds real growth, I also think that learning through experiences does the same thing. And helpers just guide like reflection and not like control the helpie's situation.
No, yeah, I agree completely with what you said. And like an example of the movie in that is Simba's exile and growth. And through Simba's life in the jungle, Simba learns resilience and responsibility. The famous Hakuna Matata phrase teaches him peace, but also avoidance. He learns lessons that he must outgrow, and that experience shapes self-awareness and maturity.
Yeah, and ultimately, at the end of the movie, when Simba decides to go back to his homeland and take over the throne that his father had, he learned through the experience of confronting Scar, and that forces Simba to like accept his past and do what he needs to do.
Yeah, so that was a brief overview of some concepts in The Lion King.